Coming to you live, it's the AutoHub show with Ian and Jeff. Here we go.
Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hi, I'm Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient, social selling for the car industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of. So if you're looking to invest thousands and make millions, we're definitely the social selling company for you. Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
I was at Larry Feldman's seminar. So happy I came, having such a good time. Thank you so much, Larry.
One of the best trainers in this area for sure. I don't know about anywhere else, but as far as I know, he's the best. So,
told you twice.
Take advantage.
Thank you for having me here.
I'm at Larry Feldman's seminar, and what I found is that what he's really good at doing with his knowledge and with his training, he's not filling a bucket, he's lighting a fire.
Ways to improve. Every month we want to improve better on what we did the month before, maybe the year before. It's about how fast we can get the cars done with quality work to get it to the front line, because that's where we make our money. And the bottom line is the longer it takes, the more money you spend. We want to get it down as low as possible. Right now, like I said, we're in a great stage. We're at 4.5 days. In recon, we want to know how quickly we can get the cars out of the recon process and to the front line. The average days in recon and then the time to line are the most important things that we look for. I'm Mike Burrell. I'm Service Director at JM Lexus.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Vehicle Buying Center's leadership panel today. We're going to talk about how to bridge the gaps in 2023 through education, mindset, coaching, and collaboration. And for those of you in the back, just know, yes, I am standing up. Just want to make sure that everybody, in case you have any questions. My name is Angela Rizzo, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at VinQ, and I will be your moderator today. I would like to thank Wendy Reeves for pulling together this great panel and discussion on vehicle buying centers. So why don't we just get started? Wendy, I'm going to hand you the hot mic. And what we're going to do is we have some questions that are already pre-prepared, but I might actually see if the audience has any questions as we get going. And so be prepared with any questions. And we've got the mic, and I'll just run the mic over to you. So Wendy, again, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, BDC Angels?
So my name is Wendy Reeves. I born and raised most of my life in and out of the same dealer in my adult life, on and off for about 30 years. And I came down to Phoenix about 9 years ago and started doing independent, and then I LLC 3-4 years ago. We basically do all kinds of different flavors of BDC. Primarily, we started consulting and on-site launches, but we ventured into other areas, numerous options for BDC, and then we started vehicle buying centers about 1.5 years ago. And my vision too, by the way?
Yeah, I'd love for you to talk about your vision for this panel and why you pulled this all together.
Okay, so obviously you know this isn't scripted because I screwed up already, but so I know all these beautiful people, and we all have different vantage points from within the automotive industry, and I believe that 2023 has shown itself to be a year of collaborations, and I believe that mindsets and vantage points and everything else, we need to have all the fingers on the hand working together in our stores and with our vendors, with our marketing team, with our sales team, with fixed ops and variables. So our idea, our vision is to start a conversation to bridge those gaps that exist within our dealerships and with our vendors, so that we can teach you how to, with the inventory that we all need and the crazy situation you all need, know it. I don't have to tell you all the different things, whether it's overpricing or buying junk cars or whatever it is you're experiencing. We need to get some private party acquisition, right? And we need to have a good trusting process that we can present to our private sellers. We can do it the right way, set up a great process that's gonna benefit them as much as us. But from all these different vantage points, we want to show all of you how to do that so that you get maximum ROI on your efforts. And we need to start the conversation from all these various vantage points. Those of us who have insights from our dealers, from ourselves, we all have different roles. And just like I said, teach you how to get maximum ROI on that vehicle buying center.
That's great, thank you. I think I'm going to move over to Ian Nethercott and Jeff Polo. So these guys are, running a very successful podcast called the AutoHub Show. I know a little bit about you guys. Let's start with Ian. Ian, your family has been in the automotive industry for over 100 years, starting with your grandfather in Ontario, Canada. So can you tell us how you work with dealerships to enhance their profitability and drive change, and how VBCs and closing some of those internal gaps between departments can add value?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, my grandfather started gas stations, owned 4 or 5 dealerships at one point. My uncle, my dad, and my cousin worked in business. I myself worked retail for over 10 years, worked with dealers for 13 years. Started the AutoHub Show with Jeff a little bit over 3 years ago. We took it over some friends of mine, and we've been growing that every week. Really, the focus of the show is helping dealers get better every single day. I've had some experience training BDCs and working retail, but really through the show every week, we learn from people in the industry across the globe, mostly North America, but from international. And really it's about customer experience, how to create a better customer experience, how to retain and attract customers, but more importantly, how to use the best technology to do that. And I think part of the challenge for dealers is there's so much new technology, sometimes they're overwhelmed with just all the choices out there. So we try and host companies that can talk about that. And it's really, for us, it's about the companies, not us. We're just there as the host. But I'm going to pass over to Jeff because he's still in the retail car business and also my co-host.
Well, hi there. Thanks, Jeff Polo here, also from Canada. My family has not been in the car business for 100 years, but I will cop to 35. I've been in everything from great big domestic stores, Toyota stores, run them, etc. Big time used car fan. Got out of the new car side. I'm into an independent lot as well as doing the AutoHub Show. And we're finding the benefits. One of the big changes when you're an independent is, even though it's all about you, and many of us can agree to that, it's all about me. If it wasn't for me, it isn't about you, because you need something to help you get around that. I know dealers today that say, I can't sell FJ Cruisers, yet 2007s are pulling $27,000, and that's American. So it's a great challenge, and what we do at the show, to do a little bit of a plug, is we make it about the dealers instead of about us and about our guests and how they can help them.
Jeff, can you give us some insights on how independent dealers can thrive in 2023 and beyond?
Well, by all means, even though I just said it's about you, it isn't all about you, because the fact is you need somebody to sell your cars. One person, one dealer can do, they're really good. They can do 35 cars. They can do 30. You betcha. Oh man, I'm great. I'm really doing that. But who's gonna clean them? Who's gonna do everything else? So it's all about your team. It's all about who you build to do it. If you're more than a single rooftop. I asked Angela earlier today, what if a dealer is a used car dealer but has 8 rooftops and an independent? Of course they are. Of course you are if you've got them. But the way you're going to thrive today is make it about your team. You can't make it about you. And there are people there that say, yeah, we can sell FJ Cruisers even though there's 6 Toyota dealerships within a bird's fly of us, and which isn't a saying, I just made it up. But it's very true. It's you could thrive by being something different. But I'm going to say this, buying centers are new technology. And my view is this, you leave here tonight and you go by the buffet. And you go, oh, right, look at that stuff. All I can eat seafood for only $62. You get sick, it doesn't really matter. If you go out there and you have 10 people and you don't have a vision, and all they're doing is buying a whole bunch of, manual transmission Corollas because they're Toyotas, it ain't gonna work.
Thank you. I'm going to have you pass the mic over to Danny. Got a few questions for Danny Zaslavsky. Now, Danny, you're in a very unique position because You are a dealer principal of Country Home Motors in Kansas City, and you're also the managing partner of VinQ. So I want you to put your dealer hat on. You have a vehicle buying center, and I'd like for you to tell the audience what you'd say was your biggest challenge for your dealership and your VBC, and how you and your team overcame that challenge.
So, a quote that I like, pain pushes, vision pulls. Pain pushes, vision pulls. It's like pain pushed us into a direction of, hey, we need to find another direction to source vehicles. But how and what? And my superpower is technology. I just love it. I'm super curious about it. And so we made a lot of mistakes in the beginning, which I'll share a few of them now. And then we've also made mistakes recently, and they're different. They're mistakes that are born out of scale. The early mistakes that we made is that we weren't curious enough to understand where the current inventory we were buying was coming from and who was actually doing the buying. I wanted to know, like, the eyeballs. How are you appraising a car? What insights are you looking at? Because ultimately, if I gave a VIN number to my team, they were all appraising cars slightly differently and making decisions out of, hey, I didn't do well in this car. Technology can fix that because it can bridge that gap together, or a buying plan can fix that when you actually have a strategy around what you're going after. The other thing that we made a mistake early on, and I'm going to be crude for a minute, we came up with an acronym. It's BFC, stands for Buy the Effing Car. Sometimes we took too much time to decide whether or not we should buy the effing car, and we needed to be able to trust the strategy. So when we were able to do that, we were able to begin to scale. Now, the problems that we learned through scale, we quickly understood, like in a buying center, just like in sales, you have people that cap out. People will buy 15 to 20 cars a month, and then it's like, how do you scale them? Does that mean you need another body? Or can technology scale them to buy 30 cars a month? Maybe there's some AI that can start top of the funnel conversations to make them more meaningful. Maybe you can have more strategy around what inventory you're going after and have some technology to let you know how long those vehicles were online. So you're not reaching out to somebody who's had a car online for 2 days and maybe they're excited about trying to sell it on their own. Maybe let the world beat them up a little bit and reach out after a week or two, right? So there's things like that we learned because there's so many nuances, because we know that CRMs aren't built for acquisition, so don't use a CRM for acquisition. Create your own system, be innovative, because innovation starts in the front line. So all these things we're learning as we're scaling, and today we're still learning. We're buying about 130 cars off the street with about 3 people, but our goal is to get to about 300 cars a month. How are we going to do that? Maybe I'll tell you next year.
Well, hang on to that mic, Danny, because I have a follow-up question. So you answered that question as a dealer. Now I want you to think about your role at VinQ and how, what are some of the challenges that your VinQ customers face, and how do you help them?
So innovation happens on the front line. Being on both sides, I learned early on that sometimes people in technology will say, hey, here's the toys in my toy box. How do I put them together and make something that somebody will buy? Kind of like my dad used to buy a building and say, hey son, we're gonna put a business in this building. What business? I don't know, I just bought the building. You have to start with customer experience and work your way backwards towards whatever that innovation is. So when innovation starts on the front line and we think about, like, what is that customer experience gonna happen when you're having an inbound lead? Somebody's showing up and wants to get an offer on their car. Do they just want the value of the car, or do they actually want to transact on that car? And what experience are you giving them? Beyond that, are you providing the value, or are you waiting for somebody to back that offer and giving up control of that value? Because then you have no control over the appetite that you actually have to buy the car. Those are things within technology that we're able to fix. And those are things that we pay attention to, because it's about the conversion points. When you think about opportunities to connections, to appointments, to actual acquisitions, and what does that look like for gross and churn? When you can see every one of those conversion points, it's super fun. And you can make a lot of money, and the differences in your per copy is almost double what it is in auction purchase.
So Danny, you have a session tomorrow at 4:15 on inventory management. Yep. Looking forward to seeing it. And I ran out of money, so you were going to give me $100 for giving you a plug. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let me just pause here to see if there's anybody in the audience that has a question. Anybody have an audience? Anybody in the audience have a question so far for the panel? Okay, I'm going to start calling on people in a few minutes. Larry's up next. So Larry Feldman, prior to starting your own recruiting business in 2012, which you can tell us about, you were a successful dealer principal, GM, and a Cadillac salesman. And you were also heavily involved in sales training and EVs. What feedback do you get from your dealers now that have a vehicle buying center regarding challenges and triumphs or tips and tricks?
Sure. It's pretty simple. Obviously, for the past couple of years with the pandemic, buying cars was like eating soup with a fork. It just seemed to be an impossible task. And the dealers, at least the smart dealers, grasp the concept that you look internally rather than externally. As an owner and as a sales trainer, I can't even tell you how many times I've explained that if you're looking for business, how about dealing with the customers that already know you and like you, and how about getting your butt, notice I said butt, I didn't want to get too risque with Angela here. Why don't you get your butt into the service department? Well, it's the same thing here. With vehicle buying centers, the reason people like Danny, people all over the country are successful is they grasp the concept. As a trainer, as an owner, I'm big on process. Process, process, process. But this is one instance where the people are more important than the process. Because if you take a successful salesperson and mind those traits and now say, all I want you to do is make 100 phone calls a day, you're not going to get anywhere. The way to make this thing successful, and I'm sure my buddy Dan will agree with me, is understand that you need people that are relentless, but that have a plan. The four-prong approach. You want to call people, okay? You want to email people. You want to text people. He likes it. And you want to video people. Isn't it a little scary that where YouTube is now controlling the whole planet, you still have people that are allergic to video? So you need to understand that you're going to have to, it's the 880 rule, that you usually make these deals after 8 or 9 or 10 or 100, but you can't do a cadence of calls because, right, is everybody in the room on the same page I am? About the 4th or 5th time somebody calls you, you're ready to call the police and say I'm being stalked. There has to be some semblance of variety within the plan. You also mentioned, if it's okay, EVs. I got pulled into the EV, and this is important because it's going to dial into what everybody said, by John Ellis. Most of you know John Ellis. He's one of the most brilliant analysts around. And he called me up and he said, Larry, I want you to get involved with me promoting EVs. I said, there's only one problem. I don't know a damn thing about EVs. He said, that's perfect. I just want your personality. So where this young gentleman's superpower is technology, that ain't mine, okay? They were laughing at me because my iPhone has a rotary dial on it, and I have a sundial and an abacus in my car. My superpower is people like me. No matter how I torture them, or what I say or what I do, Fred's nodding his head, okay? That's the key. You're not going to find anybody smarter with technology than Danny. But if it's not wedded with personality, if it's not wedded with talking to a human being, you're finished. There isn't one, and we got some pretty technically adept people in this room. Tell me which one of you likes to get 10 phone prompts and then they hang up on you anyway. We have to inject the humanness back into this car business. Because if we can tie that in with the tech, we can do anything, okay? There's not enough cars, let's find a way to buy cars. Let's do it intelligently. I believe, like a lot of people believe, that the economy may be bad, it may be up, it may be down. That's somebody else's problem, it's not mine. Because I'm going to find a way to make a living and make some friends and move forward. Everybody agree with me? Cool.
That's great, thank you.
Can I just hold on to the mic? I'm starting to feel comfortable.
I forgot to bring the hook, but that's okay. Well, we're going to keep going.
Not my first hook, folks.
Well, so I'm going to open this up to the panel because you said something that sparked another question. You talked about sales and selling cars versus buying cars. And I know that there's some philosophies out there that say those really need to be different people. Like you don't want your salesman buying cars and vice versa. So I'd love the panel to talk a little bit about that philosophy.
Would you like to ask Shawn? You wear this jacket specially for the question.
Of course. We can start with Shawn.
All right, Shawn Armorer, BDC owner and founder. So to answer specifically the question, I'm a servant leader, and I like to coach on emotional intelligence. So it's a little bit of a mixture, actually, of what Larry has to say, and Danny, like, if you were the internet, you just broke it. Like, I couldn't even agree more with everything that he had to say. And one of the things, that's the best thing I've heard since the moment I've been here, innovation happens on the front line. Now, to pull Larry in, who's on the front line? Our people, right? So what happens, to me, to answer your question, it's about, we're in a relationship business. Whether you're buying a car or whether you're selling a car, people don't want to feel screwed because we gave them a cheap price. People don't want to be screwed because we sold them something a little bit above price. So it's a relationship business. So at the end of the day, we have to invest into our people. And when I'm talking about investing into our people, because we are doing it already, but what I mean is, have we shared our vision with those people, right? So to me, it's more about, you know, it's a people business, it's relationship people. So it's about pouring more into your people, focus more on the inputs, your people, and the outputs, sales, will take care of themselves. That's just how I feel.
I love it.
So I want to add one thing to that. For those of us that are dealers in the room, and for those of us that are vendor partners in the room, if you're a vendor partner, suggest this to your dealers. If your dealer changed this one practice, it changed the way that we behave at our store. When somebody calls or answers the phone for a customer, ask them, are you calling about buying a car? Or are you calling about selling a car? It changes the conversation. When we treated our BBC as an island, that island had to get resources from the mainland. It's a tough way for a BBC to exist. When that BBC is no longer an island, but it's a part of the mainland, it's a part of the dealership, and the dealership, either through compensation or through culture, is helping that BBC win, meaning fixed ops is funneling opportunities to the BBC, variables funneling ops to the BBC. There's compensation plans that help both win. When there's a title clerk that's dedicated to execution and he or she gets a part of that win, now all of a sudden it's a culture and you've created a machine that is self-sustaining, and no longer do you have a sales manager needing to leave the desk to go buy cars at the auction.
So look, I love the fact that you just brought up fixed ops because you're sitting next to Terry Torline. And Terry, I'd love for you to just introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and then I'll ask my question.
So I am Terry Torline. I was in the car business and moved to the dark side. I'm now on the vendor side. Our company represents service contracts, appearance protection products. I built the exoglass portion of our company about 3 years ago with just prior to, or actually at the start of COVID, so that we could launch it using technology and not having to be in the store in order to make that launch. And in turn, that gave us the platform to deliver products to dealers directly into their portals. Secondarily, we have the ability to create user-friendly sites for purchases of vehicle service contracts directly by the consumer.
So when you think about, when you think about the opportunities that you see in both variable and fixed ops with a VBC, from your vantage point, so what I'm trying to say is the revenue generating and other benefits that are over and above those we've discussed so far, can you comment on that?
I can. There's two types of dealers in this room. There's those that are changing and those that have changed. Those that are changing are going to have a harder uphill climb. The dealers that have changed are going to understand this. The consumer's concept of of selling the car has changed. They used to go to Craigslist, Auto Trader, those types, and creepy Uncle Charlie would show up at 10 o'clock at night and want to buy their car. That, the Carvanas of the world, the CarMaxes of the world, have given us a new way to interact with the customer. So setting up a virtual BBC in order to connect with the customer is a readily acceptable business model for the consumer to understand. He gets why you're calling. The other side is when you get a chance to interact with the customer, you're calling them in order to solve or create a solution for them. I've got an extra car. I don't know how to get rid of it. What do I do with it? So you're connecting with them on a different level than if you're calling them saying, want to buy a car? Want to buy a car? When are you going to be ready to buy a car? You're now interacting with them and giving them money. That creates an opportunity for you too. If they're not ready to sell their car or they don't have a vehicle to sell, that still creates an opportunity for you to discuss with them, what are you in the market for? Get a little bit more information. Create that engagement, create that connection with the customer. Invite them down to your dealership for the Support Our Troops weekend of extravaganza that you're having. It's a community event that you have. Use that opportunity in order to create that engagement or that connection with the customer so that when they do want to buy a car, your dealership is in the forefront of their mind.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna pause here to see if there's anyone in the room that has a question. Just raise your hand.
If nobody else interested, I'll get buying 150 cars a month.
I get to.
Yeah, so, let me repeat the question. She said, is anyone interested on how Danny's buying 150 cars a month? So,
We created a couple things. So, who here already has a BBC? Raise your hand. And who's buying over 50 cars a month? Okay, good. Did it hurt to get to 50? Yeah, it hurt like hell, right? What about to get from 50 to the next 20? Did it hurt a little less? No? Okay. So here's my point. When you start shifting your mindset from not just being an organization that sells cars, but to an organization that also buys cars, it means that that sales process has to also be really studied and examined. Part of that sales process is also the acquisition process. So on the technology side, we're looking at the funnel. How many opportunities do you have to get, right? How many people cars do you have to look at? To how many actual connections, and are those connections meaningful connections, or are you spraying and praying? Meaning, are you going after everybody, or are you going after specifically the cars that you want to buy? The only way to do that meaningfully is to have a buying plan that allows you to search only those vehicles. Well, that buying plan has to be intelligent. So it has to consider things like market demand, has to consider like your own sales, has to consider competitor demand, has to consider audience. Audience is like, if you have Jason Rice is in the room. Jason, you here? That guy is brilliant. Connect with him. LockPop does this thing called switch leads. It unlocks your CRM. This is another way to do it. If you sell a car that has 9 leads on it, how many of those customers actually bought one of them? The other 8 are unsold. If they're still in your CRM, that is a way to measure what you should be buying, because you know you have pent-up demand sitting there. When you take all of those signals and put them in a buying plan and then point them at a marketplace, literally just point them, then you can point them at Manheim or Odessa or Auction Edge or Facebook or Craigslist or AutoTrader or even your own inbound leads. Now you're taking a person that would be buying 10 or 20 cars a month by themselves and scaling them because their efficiency just went up, right? So there's a lot of BDC type of strategies with number of calls and connections and all that kind of stuff. But beyond that, if you leave them on an island to fend for themselves, it's really tough. You have to make sure that the rest of the team supports them. So salespeople use things like equity mining to identify what vehicles they can go out and buy. And then they work with their BBC agent to fill their funnel, those inbound opportunities, right? Or within fixed ops, either customers that are eligible for an upgrade or customers that are eligible for an acquisition. We have a store in Beaver Toyota, Cumming, Georgia. 2 guys buying 130 cars a month. Jade Naban is one of those guys, and we have a podcast you guys can listen to called Q the Next Leader. And how old is Jaden?
21.
21 years old. And how many cars is he buying on average per month by himself?
Over 100.
One kid. One kid. And he's very unique, but he's not that unique in the sense that others are doing that too. So be curious. Be insatiably curious and listen to the way that these guys show up, because the secret lives in that. The technology scales you. So when you look at a buying plan that doesn't just cover the BBC, but covers the entire organization, and you can look at 2 reports, one being of the cars that I have, where did I buy them? Auction, dealer network, trade, or private party. You can see average days on, that you have it in your dealership, and then what your potential profit is. And when they sell, you can see how much you make gross per copy. You can see how long you have them. Then the writing's on the wall. You know where to put the resources. You know where to put the attention. And really, as testament, it hurts getting to that. But the cool part is that pain is shared among the team with a common vision, goal, and culture.
And There's actually a guide that has been written by Danny and Damien Bordeaux called How to Buy 100 Cars a Month. It's the QR code here on the left. So go ahead and scan that and download that guide, and that will give you a lot of information on how that works. And then Don Brady, you're next. I wanted to just say that, you know, you wear many hats and a lot of costumes. So I wanted you to take a minute to tell everyone about yourself, because you got a lot going on right now.
So I'm actually excited, and Robin asked the question, I raised my hand because I wanted to answer it. And I didn't want to answer it, I wanted to say, one of the biggest reasons I'm here is to check out their product tomorrow. Because how many dealers are in the room? I'm just curious. Well, thank you guys, all of you, for showing up. I actually added to that number about 3 weeks ago, and I got my dealer's license. So I'm actually in a somewhat terrified moment of my life. I am also the vice president of dealer success for Ship Your Car Now. So for the last 3.5 years, I've been helping car dealers all over the United States pick up cars for them by truckload or singles and bringing them to their dealership. I'm still going to continue to do that, but I felt kind of like a lazy guy, so I wanted to add to my life a used car lot in Ohio. So I'm now in the acquisition mode. So in 3 weeks, I've bought 4 cars, 2 from the street and 1 from an auction, 1 from ACV auction. So I'm here because I'm going to really bother the vendors starting tonight and the rest of the week, because I want to find the right tools for my small used car lot. And the idea of buying 100 cars is thrilling and exciting, but more importantly, it's buying the right cars. I've went to some physical auctions in the last couple of weeks, and I've been standing next to dealers that I've watched them with their hands up in total shock. I mean, we're all looking at the same books and the same guides, and I'm watching them pay thousands over retail in some cases, and I'm thinking, wow, what's the end game to that, you know? So I'm very excited about being out here and learning. So, and I'm also a former general manager with 22 years in the business. So it's not like I'm a new guy on the block, but I got to tell you, in the last 3, 4 months, 5 months, I've been very impressed with what every one of you have accomplished, because it's not easy. It's easier to walk into a store with 300 employees and they hand you the keys and you're the general manager of a turnkey store versus I've got dirt and now I'm going to build this into actually Terry told me yesterday, you don't have a car dealership, you have a used car lot. That's where I'm at now, but I'm going to grow it into a used car dealership. And I'm going to need the help of people like Danny and his team and a lot of the guys that are helping and gals I'll be talking to. I'm very, very excited about being here. I'm not a public speaker, but I'm so excited about being here because I want to help. I love this industry, and we're actually the starting act for Sugar Ray Leonard. So, hey, are you excited?
Well, I wanted to ask you a question, Don, specifically about transporting cars. You know, you really you understand that there's a lot of opportunity here to help dealers transport the vehicles that they're acquiring from private parties, along with the other sources that they use. So here's the question: what have you seen to be the biggest challenge that your drivers face, and what steps are taken to be able to conquer those challenges?
Well, so Ship Your Car Now, we're actually a technology company, so a lot of people look at us as a transport company, but we have technology that's actually incredible. So literally, for the dealer standpoint and the customer standpoint, to get a shipping quote, it's as simple as punching in a zip or city or a zip, to and from, and then car, truck, SUV, and you get an instant quote. So even when your buyers are sitting at the keyboard and bidding on cars, they can know what the shipping quote is before they even hit the buy button. So that's the one thing. As far as the carriers, I mean, the biggest concern I'm seeing right now is on the EV side is, and I don't know if it's talked about a lot, but the EVs, as everybody knows, they're a little bit heavier than the cars. So in most cases, in some cases, if a truckload of cars, you've got 8 cars on there, for the Department of Transportation standards, they can only carry now 4. So any way to make up for that, they're going to raise the prices of those cars. So with the EVs, your prices could be higher. So that's one of the things that's actually a challenge right now. And of course, the whole world's pushing towards all EV, all EV. It's something to consider as part of the infrastructure.
Thank you. I'm gonna see if the audience has another question before I go to Shawn. And I see a hand up here.
So I know technology is transforming this industry and many industries. I'm wondering, and I'm not sure who might be best to answer this, but what do you think is the future of vehicle buying centers?
Question is, what do we think the future is of vehicle buying centers? Does somebody on the panel want to start?
Honestly, we all need them.
With regard to technology, I'm thinking.
Oh, with regard to technology. So how are they going to change?
Yeah, how it's going to change.
I think first of all, like any technology that you know, whether it be website based or back end based or anything, you want to look at what's out there in the marketplace and obviously make the best decision. But I think what I see a lot as we speak to dealers is sometimes they buy too much technology that may not be the right technology and they don't utilize some of it properly. So they overbuy or they don't understand what they're buying. So first of all, do the homework, but more importantly, I mean, the reason Danny's such a leader in what he does, one of many, is he's also a client. So it's like I developed this to buy cars, and then, you know, from there I basically built it for other dealers. So first of all, do your homework and see the demos. I know some of them are long, but make sure that you're using the technology to the length of its ability. And it may just not be Danny's product. You may need other products, but you want to make sure they work together in your store culture with your process.
To add to that is something very interesting, is the old saying, use it or lose it. And, you know, those of you who've been around for a while can remember the cabinet in the back, you know, off the lunchroom with all the tapes and the beautifully coiffed guy with the dark hair who's very hairspray and hour bald like mine, selling you things, and it's tapes and CDs and everything else. And it's just like if you're just a person, you don't have technology, you use car gurus, car values, you got to do it. You can't just say, okay, you know, Dan, you said, you know, just because they're a good salesperson doesn't mean they're a good car buyer. And literally the future holds the same thing it's done in the past, is just do it.
Look, we all know that the profit is made when you buy the car. So you need to have that relationship in there. So technology will get you so far. I agree with it, but there's still that relationship with the buying public or the person you're getting the car from that you still need to build, nurture, and develop. Danny's process makes it scalable, and Wendy started it off with saying probably the most important part of anybody that we learned today is develop a process. Incorporate the technology into your process so that everybody is on board. It starts at the top, and you got to work your way down. As to virtual buying centers, again, changing or changed. If you're not going towards that direction, you're going to be left behind. It's going to be a tougher road. But incorporate the technology that is working in your process, because not all of it is going to be, as you said, some of it's overbought. And if you don't know how to drive it, use it, you're going to be lost with it.
Okay, please go ahead.
So Cyprian, I liked your question. You're also a builder of technology. So here's how I answer that. As dealers, owning a car dealership, we think right car, right price. That's what we think. There's a car, I gotta put the right number on it, I'm gonna buy it for my lot. As somebody on the technology side, when you zoom out, you have the chance to also think right car, right lot. It's a different mentality. And if you own multiple lots, we've always thought maybe this car that I bought at this store might do better at this store. It opens up our ability to think about how we acquire vehicles and for what purpose, right? And so when you start thinking right price, right car, right lot, then you can start applying brand priority, segments, price buckets, all these different things that allow you to create wholesale as a profit center and auction as a profit center. Wholesale being dealer to dealer, auction, and then retail. So I believe technology is going to change in the sense that bolt-on tools are going to become fewer, and companies with real meaningful data that whether you have a buying plan or not, technology companies know your buying plan, including me, because I can see what you're transacting on. So the point is, you want to be able to own your market by understanding your own buying plan and steering it, not from the passenger seat, but from the driver's seat.
But he also said that he has one young fella who's 21 buying 100 cars. It always comes down to the people. because every one of us loves technology. We've all embraced it, and it all makes us all crazy all the time. So if we can wed his technology with people skills, you cannot go wrong, right? Guy even older than Terry and me. Ben Franklin said it right: when you're finished changing, you're finished.
Thank you. I have a question. No, Fred's fine. Shawn Armorer, I wanted just to give you a moment to tell us a little bit about your company, BDC Alchemy, and how you are architecting revenue-generating BDCs.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. First of all, amazing questions. My brain is going a mile a minute. I love this industry. So my name is Shawn Armorer. I'm from Montreal, Canada. Going on 22 years in the business. For the first 19 years, I was under the rooftop. I built BDCs for Canada's largest dealer groups. So right now I started my business during COVID. So while everybody was busy fighting over toilet paper, I don't know if you guys have that problem here, but in Canada it was rampant. So while everybody was so busy about fighting toilet paper, I saw an opportunity to really give back to this industry that's given me so much. So I created BDC Alchemy, and similar to what we've heard on this panel, alchemy is very much about exploring the unknown and taking something average and making it great. And to build off of Larry, it comes down to your people, right? So I assist dealerships in architecting revenue-generating BDCs. A BDC is not a customer service department, and if built correctly, a BDC shouldn't even cost you money. Now today we're talking about free BDCs. So when I go and see my dealer groups right now, and in my line of work, it's kind of funny. Well, not really funny, but I'm really called upon not when something's going wrong, but when the building's on fire, so to speak, right? In a BDC, and it's like, Shawn, fix this, and I'm giving you 1 month to do it. Okay, so you're telling me that this has not been going well for 4 years, and I get 1 month, right? Okay, no problem. So that's usually when I start speaking French and nobody understands. So with that respect, it's kind of funny. But no, in all seriousness, the interesting component about what I do and about what everybody's really in here for, I mean, we're all in the same industry, and we've all been going at this for a while. The interesting component is that everybody is here to get something, and so am I. And when I'm sitting down with my dealer groups, one of the first things that I tell them, just to kind of give them a source of inspiration, is that, listen, the growth that you seek is currently found in the areas being mismanaged. And when I say mismanaged, it doesn't mean that you're not doing a good job. It means that sometimes you don't know what you don't know. I mean, listen to what Danny's story before, and I hear this all the time. You know, they were trying to do something and it wasn't working, or it wasn't planned out at the beginning, but they found their way, right? So to answer your question, one of the most important things that I would recommend is to not get tethered or to not get anchored onto something. I mean, what's the true definition of psychosis? Doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different outcome, right? Especially in this volatility. I mean, I've been going at this for 22 years. I mean, is there any 15-year plusers in here? 20 years, 15 years, let's show hands. I mean, when has this industry ever been the way it is? The volatility is almost every 3-4 months, something's changing. So, you know, similar to what Terry said, there's those that are changing, and then there are those that have changed. And one of the most interesting parts about that, parts about that is that the responsibility that we have towards the people in our care, at the end of the day, is what's going to make the difference. You know, build things around systems. Build things around systems. You know, when you really, you know, when you solve problems at a results level, it's momentary. But what I have learned is that to truly make a significant impact on your business, you really make a consistent impact when you change things at the systems level. We should be far more concerned with our trajectory than with our results. And when you focus on the inputs, your people, the outputs will take care of themselves. So I think there was an element of KPIs.
Yes, if you'd like to.
Yeah, well, listen, there's basically 4 KPIs that I would recommend, and it's always about the same since we are in a people business. And my 4 KPIs that I would follow up on all the time, KPIs. Keep people interested, keep people involved, keep people informed, and most importantly, keep people inspired.
That's great. Yes, let's hear it. That's great. Well, Wendy, we're almost at the end of our time, and I thought since you did such a great job pulling together this panel, that you should have the last question. So, what advice would you give to independent dealers on the value of creating a BDC and a VBC?
So, obviously, most of you probably had BDCs or attempted them or did it in some shape or form. But when we started the BDCs, we kind of equated to a BDC, but in reverse was the psychology, I think, with the BDC brain. And I think it's all about business development. And instead of selling cars, instead of selling appointments to sell cars, we want to buy cars. So I think 3 or 4 things. First and foremost, if you're starting out, and those of you that have done it, you know this. If you aren't focused, and if you don't have a plan, and if you don't go into it slowly, there's going to be lots of brain damage. Lots of brain damage. It's a very labor-intensive thing when you're reaching out to people. However, again, to equate it to a BDC, first and foremost, where do you start? Start where you are. And I think that's one thing you always say with BDCs, right? We finish each other's sentences a lot. So start where you are. Don't think, okay, I'm going to buy everything. I want to buy 1,000 cars a month. And believe me, these are things we've experienced. And we've helped our dealers navigate through the challenges, right? You have to customize it. It has to work for your store, your inventory, your buying plan. You have to have a buying plan. You can't say I'm going to buy everything. You have to say, okay, I want this, I want that. I don't want deployed airbags. I don't want what? Give me an example. I don't want a salvage title. I don't want, you got to watch with accidents, with hail damage, with this, that, the other. You have to have a focus on the buying plan based on the needs, the market needs for your dealership, like Danny mentioned, okay? And then you have to have a process. You have to follow that process. You have to nurture that process. You can't give it a little time and all of a sudden give up on it because it doesn't work. No, the best thing we do in automotive, ladies and gentlemen, is we pivot, right? We've weathered many, many storms in our industry, and those of us who've been around. And the beauty of collaboration is that those of us who have been around talk with those of you that haven't been around, and together we collaborate, we make beautiful music together. But don't overthink it, and then, most importantly, you have to have buy-in from the top. You have to make sure that your agents, same as sales and BDCs, you have to make sure that the customer experience that you're portraying to your sellers is going to be the same that you deliver in the store. It's all about the customer experience. So you can't evaluation tools. This is huge. You have to make sure that the ranges and the evaluation tools that you're giving to your agents, your buying agents, are the same as those that are going to be used when they arrive at your dealership to sell you their car. And another challenge I've seen is you have an appraiser team that's going to go to the customers or do FaceTime or do it in person or whatever. But then you have sales managers that have a different mindset. So you have to collaborate, you have to discuss it, you have to share mindsets and perspectives, because that's how you're going to win. When all the fingers on the hand know what's going on and they're all going toward the same goal, and then you're going to crush it.
That's awesome. Well, first of all, I want to thank all of our panelists for being here today. I want to thank all of you in the room for spending time here today. Thank you. And if you didn't get enough of Wendy, you can scan her QR code and get her contact information. She'd be happy to talk to you. We'd love it also if you stop by the VinQ booth, 725, to learn more. If you want to learn more about how to buy 100 cars a month, if you want to learn more about inventory management, market appraisal pricing, the buying plan, come by the booth. We're just across the aisle from the dealer lounge in the expo hall. Thanks, everyone. We appreciate you. We'll see you at the expo.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.